I'm focused on his spirit cause it keeps me from his fire. The Holy Ghost is with me, so my fear I leave behind. My sins were all diminished when he took that breath and died. And if you think I'ma give up on my God, the devil is a lie. The devil is a lie. The devil is a lie.
Hello. Welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and today we're going to be talking about how the strongest woman in the world got disqualified for being a man. Yeah, that's a story. Also, the case with Trump as far as the RICO charges in Georgia, they were reassigned because of the drama with Fonnie Willis. They just got dropped, and so another win on Trump's part, I suppose. Also, I hate to talk about Tucker Carlson again, but something else that was stupid popped up, so I'm gonna address that as well. And also, Marjorie Taylor Greene had a bit of a crash out on Mike Cernovich, and not sure why exactly. Some people think that she's because even if you were really grifting and the things that she said seem so like left wing, you know, but it's such a reach. But I don't know. I don't think she has the intellectual capacity to do a kind of a clever sort of shift here. So maybe she's playing a game here. I don't know. I'll show it to you guys, and you guys can tell me what you think. Anyway, we got a couple things to talk about here on the show today. Before we jump into everything, I want to encourage you guys to go to blackteens.com, check out different content, website, articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation on the website, because it does cost a stream and run my side and all that good stuff. So you guys can support it very much to appreciate it and appreciate you guys. You guys can also check out different merch that's available on the website as well. We have different t-shirts and mugs and so on you guys can check out. So go ahead and check out what we got on the site. We got also different books you guys can check out. I have 19 books published altogether, believe it or not. Most of them are fiction, but I do have some nonfiction books, like Of Course God is Blatantly Against Abortion. And I do have my book Bigger that you guys can check out. There's a link in the description that'll take you to my book website where you guys can check out Bigger. So go ahead, check out Bigger. It's a good book about a baby dinosaur who just dreams to be bigger. And as his dreams kind of get out of control, his mom has to kind of rein him back in and just let him know that it's okay to be yourself and to be as God made you to be. So, go ahead and check out Bigger and get it for your little ones today, or little ones that people have bought it for their neighbors' kids and other stuff like that. So I just appreciate everyone who's taking the time to do that. Tomorrow is Thanksgiving. We will not be streaming tomorrow. I can't believe it's like already like the end of the year. It's insane. Just how fast life is just going by into this new year. So anyway, we won't be streaming tomorrow or Friday. We'll be back on Monday. I will be starting to post my blogs about Israel starting tomorrow, though. So I will have some content. So you guys want to watch something in the midst of your turkeys being cooked and stuff, there will be some content that'll be going out. So I'm trying to keep them around, like, I don't know. The first two are like at the 30-minute mark or whatever. I don't want them to be more than like I really didn't want them to be more than 20 minutes. I don't think any of them are gonna be like an hour. But we'll see. I'll try to keep them as short as possible. Not like TikTok short, obviously, but it's YouTube, so it's long form. So YouTube and Facebook, I'll put them on both platforms so people can feel free to watch and enjoy. Feel free to watch and enjoy. I posted a video today. I don't have it on hand, but like, how do you enjoy Israel? And I turn and look at the camera, and it's playing money, 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 money. It just says a little joke, and it's funny because everybody on the trip had been like accused of taking $7,000, and no one received $7,000. Someone on our trip was directly accused by Candace Owens of taking $7,000, and it's just not the case, just not true. And some of Maddie, who's that opinionated girl on TikTok, and Destiny, who was with Kufai and arranged a trip, they had actually met Netanyahu. And from Maddie's perspective, she doesn't think there was an article that was about different influencers meeting him, and they're like, Netanyahu meets and plans to take over the internet with influencers, and she's just like, Netanyahu does not have that capability. I just don't think they're great with the PR stuff. That's one reason why Charlie wrote that long letter, and I kind of got that vibe a little bit when I was there talking to different officials and so on, that because I think, frankly, in some regard, they don't know what they're up against, especially when it comes to information war, which seems strange, which seems strange. But yeah, I had a great time with all those guys, and we so a couple of us made a couple of videos mocking the whole $7,000 thing. Jason made the most. I didn't realize that Jason made such a series about it. Like, it was a long thing, like the whole time we were there, how many people he went to, like I'm here for my $7,000, where can I find my $7,000? I did it like a diary of searching for the $7,000. So that was pretty funny. I'll probably do a compilation video for people to see, but I look forward to sharing that content with you guys and some other shorter videos as well, because there are just so many cool things that happen. But anyway, let's hop toot on the news. Let's see some people watching on Facebook. I see that Facebook, I know you guys can't see each other if you're watching across different platforms. I can see all your comments that will filter in. I can't always read them when I'm live, because I'm trying to keep my thoughts together on one hand, and on the other hand, I have the platform on another screen, and I just need glasses. So y'all see me squinting a lot. So I do stop and read them every so often. If people want to do super chats and stuff, I read those. But unless they're gross or weird or something, I'm not going to guarantee I'm going to read everything that you guys super chat, but just behave in the comments. But I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you guys are getting ready for the holidays. I have my task. I don't have much to cook myself personally. I was assigned to do the green beans. If I must make my confession, last year they were a little salty. Because I obviously just put a little too much salt in, and then I spent a lot of time trying to unsalt them, and it was just well, I mentioned yesterday it was a hard Thanksgiving last year because my mom had just passed at that time, so everybody was trying to figure out kind of how do we make Thanksgiving still resemble what we've grown up with, So we'll see if everything can get nailed this year. I had kind of suggested we can make some new things that are a little bit different, because my sister makes some really good fresh green beans, but they're we want it to be how it was. I'm like, okay, all right. So I hope you guys have a blessed Thanksgiving. Let me just say that again, since we won't be live tomorrow. I might do a little impromptu, hey, happy Thanksgiving videos. We'll see. Anyway, let's start off with this strongman story. Which was pretty ridiculous. It's all very ridiculous. So there was a man in a strong woman competition who won, barely, and he ended up getting disqualified because, lo and behold, he's actually a man, and you're supposed to compete with your biological sex. Okay, so let me go ahead and I'm going to try to go ahead and share my screen here with this Fox News article. Sometimes, I don't know, because of all the videos and stuff and the ads, it slows down. So if it does that too much, I will probably unshare it, but we'll give it a go. Female competitor crowned world's strongest woman after transgender controversy overshadows event. The original winner of the 2025 World's Strongest Woman competition in Arlington, Texas, was stripped of the title after allegations that the athlete is transgender came to light. Andrea Thomas, the 2018 winner, stepped down from the podium at the event over the weekend after Jamie Booker won the title. Thomas came in second place by just 1 point to Booker in the open women's category, no weight requirement. A YouTube video from what appears to be Booker's own channel dating back to 2017 shows Booker claiming to be trans. So this is the real winner right here. This is the real winner right here. So I was I heard about the story and I just watched a TikTok about it and stuff too. And it just dawned on me this narrative that pro trans people push all the time, because they try to equate transgenderism struggles with the struggles of like the Black community and so on, and all the historical issues that have gone on with racism in the United States of America, and trying to tug on like my heartstrings and the heartstrings of other Black people, because they just have to, I don't know, be parasitic when it comes to the struggles of other folks. So because I guess on their own they can't gin up their own sympathy that's legitimate, I guess. So they always say things like, well, as a Black woman, can't you sympathize, and why can't you understand the transgender plight and stuff? Okay, this is a Black woman right here, a Black woman who should have won, and she ended up being declared the champion after everything got straightened out. But this is a Black woman who should have had her shining moment, and now even though she is the winner, what we are talking about, instead of like really focusing on her incredible achievement, is the fact that a man tried to steal it away by claiming that he was a woman. There are victims in these situations, and I've repeatedly said, I don't understand why it is that we always have to have sympathy toward the man pretending to be a woman, but we don't have compassion toward the women who have to suffer in these situations. Tell me why that is. Tell me why that is. So people who try to play that race card, here is a actual Black woman who suffered because of this situation at the hands of a trans woman and was cheated out of her title. I'm glad that it was restored and she got her title back. But there's like an asterisk near this kind of story. Instead of having her, crowning reigning champion moment on the podium, it's, hey, by the way, we got to disqualify that person because they were actually a man the whole time. That's wild. It should not be happening. It's incredibly unfair. And everybody ought to know that it's unfair. And even people who advocate for transgender athletes to compete and being women's president, I think deep down they know it's unfair too. They just have to go along with their whole shtick. I think this video we'd have to actually watch on X, so I'll probably go back to it. Thompson's coach, Lawrence Shellel, told Fox News Digital that Booker was just disappointed in herself for losing and was unaware of Booker's alleged biological sex at the time. According to Strongman's archives, Booker had not competed in women's events prior to this past June. It is unclear whether Booker had previously competed as a man. So just what they could have been just like off the street, just I'm deciding to demolish women in the sport today. After backlash over previous 48 hours, official Strongman announced that Booker would be disqualified, admitting it was unaware of allegations that Booker was born male. The ruling now gives Thompson her second victory in the competition, just like she deserves. Had we been aware or had this been declared at any point before or during the competition, this athlete would not have been permitted to compete in the women's open category. We are clear competitors can only compete in the category for the biological sex recorded at birth, official strongman said at the announcement Tuesday. Official strongman is inclusive and proud to run events which do not discriminate against athletes based on personal characteristics. Any athlete is welcome, but it is our responsibility to ensure fairness and ensure athletes are assigned to men or women's categories based on whether they are recorded as male or female at birth. Thompson shared a post from her coach, Lawrence Shellel, congratulating her on winning the event. She made a post on Monday, one day after the event. She told Fox News Digital prior to the strongman's announcement that he had been told Thompson would be crowned the champion, and that an official announcement would be made. This win hasn't come without controversy, but I want to make it very clear that while I support and applaud people for being who they want to be, sport is sport and the women's classes exist for a reason. And yeah, that's obviously the case. Thompson finished third in 2019 and second in 2022 in the same competition. She won Masters World's Strongest Woman event reserved for women 40 years or older. Booker has competed in 3 events this year, winning the first back in June and coming in second in the North America Strongest Woman. On September 14th, Booker began a GoFundMe to help get money to compete in the competition after taking first in the Rainer Classic Regional and getting my pro card and the second at the North America Strongest Woman competition. I've qualified for the next level competition at the official Strongman Games, and I have a good chance of reaching the podium at this event as well, Booker wrote. Now comes the difficult task of funding the trip. Registration fees are $285. The flight to Texas will be around $350, and the hotel fees for the 3-day competition and pre-competition rules meeting will be $900. I simply cannot afford this on my shoestring Planet Fitness trainer budget. Winning this competition will open huge doors for my career, both as an athlete and as a trainer. Strongman said it is attempted to reach out to Booker, but a response has not been received. On Monday, Booker posted a video on Instagram thanking numerous people for their assistance in what was originally a victory. Booker's TikTok biography reads Booker 28, the world's strongest lesbian. In a post from January, Booker wrote, "No, I'm not a man." Booker's first post on Instagram is a photo posing at a Planet Fitness on July 31st, 2022. So, this is messed up. This is messed up. Um, oh, I guess we could watch some of it. Let me go back. She looks upset. Well, I'm glad they fixed that, but someone said there is no trans woman. A man is a man. I think I saw somebody talk about the other day we need to stop using the term trans woman, and I know I guess I try to use this more often. A Tim is a trans identifying male, and then you can have a TIFF, which is a trans identifying female. And I first heard that phrase from a trans woman complaining about that phrase, I guess because they really just would prefer to have woman in there somewhere and don't want to be reminded that they're male. So, you still, I guess, I mean, if someone's grew up their hair long and has boobs or done all this kind of work, it's still maybe kind of confusing why they look the way that they look. So, Tiff and Tim's are a much better way, I think, of referring to them than using the trans woman or trans man marker. But once again, to people who try to use the whole racial, correlation, comparison, I guess is a better word, to me and other people, Like, oh, they didn't want black people playing in sports, and now people don't want trans women playing in sports. Like the dumbest sort of commentary surrounding this stuff. The dumbest commentary. What happens when there are black women who are harmed in this process? We're just supposed to just forget that because you're trying to use my sympathies as a black woman. But what happens when they are the victims of this transgender ideology? There's a very viral video. I don't think I've played it for you guys, but I'm sure you've probably seen it. There was a woman in California, I think it is. She's a California resident who went to a gym. She's a lesbian, and she was in the locker room, and there was a man in there who claims to be a woman. And she went off at the gym, and the gym, like, I think revoked her membership. And so she's been speaking out on social media about it a lot. She went to an event with Scott Wiener, who is running in Nancy Pelosi's congressional seat, I believe. And that would be terrible if he won that spot. I mean, he's a creep. He is a creep who has voted on and is responsible for some really heinous legislation in California. I think he does need to be more of a national conversation. And maybe it's good that more eyeballs will be on him, but I shudder at the, possibility of him being a congressman. So anyway, she showed up to one of his events talking about it, and it's just like, hey, are you gonna do something about these men in the women's bathroom? And the people there who were there for Scott were just like, no, they should be allowed to use the bathroom. And and she was all nice but aggressive, and she's like, I like a lot of stuff that you're doing. I'm like, well, that's a red flag anyway, because I'm like, why would you like this stuff that Scott Wiener's doing? But she was trying to be cordial, but she's just like, this issue is important, and men don't need to be in women's bathrooms, women's locker rooms and stuff. And of course, Scott has pushed for men to be able to go in women's spaces, so he wasn't going to just renege because there's an angry black woman there. But what's interesting, because I even saw Joy Reid like mention it, and like, oh, it is understandable to be upset. You're a woman, and all of a sudden there's a naked man in your bathroom. Of course it's upsetting. Of course it's upsetting. And she's getting a lot of play, and a lot of people are sympathizing with her. But my question that I would like to pose for you all, and I'll have to make a shorter social media post about this, and maybe it'll make the rounds and make people think about this. But if you're sympathetic to her plight, why weren't you sympathetic to Riley Gaines? There are people who still mock Riley Gaines, like, oh, she came in fourth place. She's not even a real athlete. She's the biggest whiner, biggest loser, and they try to degrade her. She went to one event at a school, and she ended up being locked in the bathroom for her safety. And people hit her, spit on her, cursed at her. They said, maybe we'll let you leave if you pay us, all kinds of crazy stuff, But Riley Gaines and those other girls, they had to be in a locker room with a man. And they saw his stuff. Like, that is inappropriate. And there were girls who were victims of sexual assault who were uncomfortable with the situation, and everybody acted like they needed to get on the program. How dare they question Leah Thomas being there? And people treated these girls like they were the villains, the ones who would speak up anyway, because a lot of girls didn't want to and were afraid to. And Riley told a story, because I would be thinking to myself, I'm like, where are the parents in this? Like, my dad wouldn't stand for this. Like, we wouldn't stand for this. Like, if I was in the area, I'd be there with a sign, be like, this is a man. Like, they'd have to like kick me out. So I'm like, what is up with the parents not saying anything? And so I guess her dad was kind of like, if you don't handle this, I'm gonna handle this. And he was gonna like physically handle it. So she's like, oh, I better do something or my dad will. So I guess kudos to Riley. But if you're sympathetic to this woman who's speaking up now, and I understand it's probably more fashionable to speak up now about it. There's less social pressure and consequence for speaking up now because we did have this pendulum swing that's pretty obvious after Trump won the election. Especially since that was a huge thing that he focused on during the election, right? So now I think it's people are less afraid to speak common sense on the issue. But Riley Gaines wanted the same thing that this woman wanted. And this is a grown woman who's going around standing up for herself. Riley Gaines, an adult at the time, but still a young woman. And these were young girls. They're college aged, right? So they shouldn't have to go through that. And unfortunately, it's not only college women who have to go through those things. It's also high school girls. So why should minors have to go through that? Why should a football I mean sorry a softball team have to lose out to a trans athlete when their team with the trans athlete didn't make it to the finals before, and you're beating the team that won before and should probably be winning this time around? It's incredibly unfair. And we still have a long way to go in all this. But I think more people understand that it's messed up. Like Joy Reid being like, "Oh well, if it were me, I would be. It would be upsetting to see a man in the bathroom." Joy Reid, I know she says a lot of crazy stuff on TV, or did say a lot of stuff on TV because she's not there anymore on MSNBC. She still says crazy stuff on her platform on social media and whatever podcast or whatever she has. She still says crazy stuff. But the fact that you couldn't recognize, like, oh yeah, that would be uncomfortable. Today, I don't believe that you were incapable of recognizing that a year ago or some years ago. I don't believe that people were that dense. I don't. People could understand it before. Some Star Hall said, "Where have all the feminists gone? Guess it was just to push abortion and was an orchestrated agenda." Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. There are feminists. I mean, they call them TERFs, right? Trans radical. Uh, I don't remember what TERF is, but but the TERFs are feminists who oppose like the trans movement or whatever. And some people would call me a TERF. I'm like, nah, I'm not a feminist. Like, don't call me a TERF. But I understand what you mean. But I'm not a feminist. And actually, when I had some videos on YouTube that started going viral, for like it was Dylan Mulvaney content. I had some stuff on TikTok that I put on there, and immediately got like taken down. And I was like, ugh. But then I'm like, you know what? Let me just see how it does on YouTube. And so I put on YouTube, and then my channel kind of exploded. So, and then I got millions of views on some of my content with Dylan Mulvaney. And so I attracted a lot of feminists that came on my page that appreciated me speaking out about the subject. But many of them did not appreciate my anti-abortion content. And I'm like, what? But a lot of people did, and I guess admired sort of how I presented my arguments and my stances and stuff. Gets a little tedious and maybe a little annoying when you have to repeat the same things over and over and over again because people have the same sort of rhetoric that's repeatedly used, like debunked things about like, oh, well, most abortions occur before the second trimester, or most abortions occur in the first trimester. Like, okay, so what? I'm opposed to all those too. Like, well, all the ones that happen late term, they're for it's because of the life of the mother, or fetal, you know, abnormality where they weren't compatible with life. I'm like, that's not true. That's not true. There's data that supports that that's not the case. So if it's life of the mother, okay, do what you have to preserve life in both cases. Like, they try to make sure that both of the patients live. But that's not why people get them late term. And abortion clinics want people to kind of stop saying that because they don't think that there should be a stigma around people choosing to go get an abortion, including if it happens after 20 weeks. So it's fascinating how activists really, not professional abortion activists, but I guess just online people who spout off things on YouTube and TikTok or whatever, trying to just defend the abortion position. Like if you're like hardcore activists, you want to remove the stigma, period, and believe that women should be able to get abortions as many times as they want to throughout the duration of the pregnancy because it's their choice. So that's what real like abortion activists really fight for. So sometimes, it's like, oh, I gotta repeat this thing again. I gotta repeat this thing again. But that's a subject that I genuinely really really care about a lot. So, some people couldn't hack it and some left, but I mean, a lot of people stayed. I do not know why YouTube is not pushing out my content to people who actually follow me though. That's wild. And so many times people would comment and say, "Oh my gosh, I haven't seen your content in forever," and they don't know that I'm live. It won't tell them even if they subscribe and hit the notification bells. It's really wild. I don't understand it, but I'm here trucking along. Still trying to do my part. Still, so sometimes people only see me on shorts because YouTube will not tell them when I'm live. I guess Facebook doesn't really alert a lot of people when I'm live either, but it's you know unless I'm out of the country or sick or something, I'm streaming 4 p.m. Eastern time. I keep doing my thing. Not this weekend though, because we got Thanksgiving. But speaking of the abortion debate, before I go on to Marjorie Taylor Greene, I just want to point out that Kristen Hawkins, who I have immense respect for what she does with Students for Life and how bold and fearless she tends to be. I don't like how she gripes on abolitionists. I don't. I hate it, and I think some of her arguments are really dumb, are really bad. There's some things about the abolitionist position, um, that I guess mainly their no compromise stance on who they're going to vote for. Like, I understand if everybody came together and said, we're not going to vote for a person unless they push abolitionist views. I understand that, but like if the situation, it was an election between like Ron DeSantis or Kamala Harris for the presidency of the United States. If the position had to be, we're not going to vote for Ron DeSantis because he doesn't support an abolition bill and supported a heartbeat bill instead, I and you would risk like Kamala Harris, who would gladly jail pro-lifers, I just can't jump on that train. That's a very hard ask for me. I can't come quite to terms with. But most of the other positions I get, and I can come to grips with that. Um but we talked earlier this week about how X has this new feature where they you can see where people live. So Kristen Hawkins pointed out someone who is from India and decided to dunk on them because they're from India. And then she pointed out that they're an abolitionist. Like, so this is a person. Now, this person has never hidden the fact that they're from India. They just, I guess, are Catholic and, are just believe in the abolitionist position. And Kirsten Hawkins, um, um, well, but this person who has an Indian, she's from India, but she retweeted Kirsten Hawkins. It says claims to be pro-life, blocks pro-life legislation. And there's a you know some beef between like abolitionists and pro-lifers because um abolitionists will say that pro-life organizations and stuff will block and fight abolitionist bills. Um So Kirsten said, shocked that some of these pro persecution slash abolitionists repeal the 19th voices on X aren't American accounts. Are you getting it now? Now there are some uh I don't think it's fair to conflate all these repeal the 19th people with all these people who are abolitionists or whatever. I've never said anything like repeal the 19th, but I do uh support more the abolitionist position. Um, but I support the 19th Amendment, you know. Um, so I don't think these conflations are fair. And she's gone on rants with abolitionists before that have just been like nonsensical and saying pro prosecution, like does she not believe that it's such a stupid thing to say? Like if there was a father who forced the mother to take an abortion pill, does Christian Hawkins believe that that man should go to jail? She probably does. So if that man would force a woman to get an abortion and he should go to jail, why should a mother who would willingly get an abortion and take that pill not go to jail in the event that abortion became outlawed? So the abolitionist position is that we need equal justice for that preborn person who would be killed, but we need equal justice to apply to whoever commits the crime, whether they be male or female. So I think I think her position is just really ridiculous. And so anyway, I said, you know, I hear her talk smack about all these people all the time. Like, are we gonna see a debate? I think there should be a debate between Kristen Hawkins and like Russell Hunter from Abolitionist Rising. And he like issued that challenge some time ago. From my understanding, she thinks a lot of these people are bad faith and doesn't want to debate. Um, to me, that's insane because if you can debate someone like Destiny on the Whatever podcast, you can certainly sit down with someone who's an abolitionist and talk about this issue. I think that is so weak tea. It's so weak, and I don't appreciate it, especially from someone who I thought was a pretty fearless person advocating for what she believes in. But I will say I have seen debates between pro-life people and abolitionists, and every time I've seen those debates, they haven't gone well for pro-lifers. If you don't understand the difference, the main difference, I guess, is a prosecution angle, which there's pro-lifers who believe like, yeah, that makes sense. If abortion is outlawed, you should prosecute whoever commits the illegal act. To me, that just makes sense, I guess. But there's a lot of pro-life organizations and groups that believe that you shouldn't punish the mother and that they're just victims of society and it just wouldn't be right to do that. Which I think really infantilizes women. And like Joel Berry had a conversation with Abolitionist Rising, and the more he talked, the more pro-choice he really sounded. And he was saying things to be an advocate for women, but it was just so infantilizing that he just ended up sounding like a sexist, to be frank. So if you kind of need a red pill on this debate, if you watch the Joel Berry debate with Abolitionist Rising, that is an eye opener. Or even seeing some of them confront pro-life legislators. Um, Another thing that's a big difference is that abolitionists believe in just abolition. They don't believe in incrementalism. They're like, put a bill up that says abortion is banned. Not the heartbeat bills, not the little stuff at a time, and that the incrementalism stuff actually delays justice for the preborn. So there's healthy debate on that. I think that Russell from Abolitionist Rising has made some good cases for that. When I did, of course, Guys Blatantly Gets Abortion, I didn't really tackle that issue of like prosecution and what would happen after it was outlawed in my first edition of the book, but I did add in the second edition that debate between like the pro-life position and the abolitionist position. And I'm more sympathetic toward the abolitionist position, but I uh present both fairly. So if you need some more kind of information on that, um I've talked about this before. I didn't want to derail this whole episode on the subject. It was just kind of like a throwaway kind of commentary. That's obviously no longer a throwaway commentary. But in my book, Of Course God is Blatantly Against Abortion, I do tackle that stuff. So if you haven't bought it yet, I do recommend that you guys get it. You guys can get it in paperback, or you guys can get it in ebook and stuff. So that is available for you guys to check out. So yeah, I just think she should Kirsten should go ahead and debate these people. Oh, someone said, stay strong on God's truth, and you are a woman of honor and integrity. Thank you very much, Michael. I appreciate that. I very much appreciate that. Hopefully I read that before you left. But thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate your words. So let's talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene. Real quick. I don't have a lot to say, but I just thought this was bizarre. So Mark, you guys know that she said she was going to resign after January. And Mike Cernovich just wrote a post that said you need to serve out your full term. And Marjorie Taylor Greene just kind of flipped out on him, in my opinion. Oh, I haven't suffered enough for you while you post all day behind a screen? Do I have to stay until I'm assassinated like our friend Charlie Kirk? That's a question mark, so grammatical issue there. Will that be good enough for you then? Bleep posting on the internet all day isn't fighting. Get off your bleep and run for Congress. I fought harder than anyone in the real arena, not social media. Put down your little pebbles and put your money where your mouth is. So that was a very bizarre response to just saying you need to serve out your full term. But it gets even more bizarre from Marjorie here. Because then she goes on to say, typical of Republican men. I was just double checking. I'm like, this is so crazy to me. Typical of Republican men telling a woman to shut up and get back in the kitchen and fix me something to eat. Now, Mike Cernovich, who has had some good takes, a lot of times he has bad takes or whatever. I've talked about Mike, brought him up quite a bit, here or there. He didn't say shut up and get back in the kitchen. It being in the kitchen is vastly different. And when people throw out that criticism, than you being a congresswoman. Yeah, you have a lot of power there as a congresswoman. It's very different than you running your kitchen. Bleep you in the sweetest, most southern drawl I can enunciate. I have been trying to tell you all men that our kitchen pantry is empty with spider webs. Our house has been ransacked. The windows and doors are broken and busted, and the greedy rich bleeps have twisted your minds into a sick state that you all continue in the two-party toxic political system that acts like college football playoffs, yet is burying you and your children and their children and their children in a pine box in a shallow grave. Get off your bleep and fix your own bleep food and clean up the kitchen when you're done. That is nuts. That's a crash out. That's really insane. Again, he just said finish your term. Finish your term. Like you ran to do a job. People took the time and voted for you. People took time to donate. People took time to raise money for you to serve out your term. There are situations that happen where people feel like they need to leave early. Now, I'm glad that she's leaving early. The sooner she stops making waves and ducks her head down and is quiet, the better. But I just think it's fascinating that she had this crash out here with Mike when all he said was you need to serve your full term, and then shifted it into this Republican men. Oh, like it's like this sexism thing. And there's some, people on the right, who say like sexist, dumb stuff, but this wasn't what that was, right? So why say all this stuff? To me, some people are like, I'm really concerned about her mental health. Like this doesn't seem okay. Like she's a raving lunatic. And she's also always said off stuff. So maybe she is losing her mind or whatever. Maybe. Um but it also seems like she's virtue signaling really hard to the left. Like she was saying stuff about Trump and MAGA and Israel and and it was funny because the View was like, we should, Republicans are too scared to come on. And then so many people responded like, no, I'll come on. I'll come on. I know Ben Shapiro wants to come on. I know people on TikTok, their whole platform is basically trashing the View, what they say every day. And is like, I want to come on the View. I want to come on the View and talk to these women. Riley Gaines, other people want to go on the View. I know that Meghan McCain tried to get more people on the right to come on the View, and they wouldn't have them on, right? So after that, it's interesting that out of all the Republicans they could have had on, they got Marjorie Taylor Greene. Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is at odds with the party, who's always been a kooky, who's always been loudmouth and kooky. I've never in a day in my life gone, oh, I just love Marjorie Taylor Greene. Not me. I know some people just like her kind of going off and stuff. Nope, not me. Not me. So, to me, it seems like, the shoehorn theory, like there's people who are so far to the left and so far to the right, but then it's like the far left and then the far right go like that. A lot of people on the far right and left, they kind of believe a lot of the same things. And she's shifting so far to the right that she's doing this, oh, how dare a man tell me to do my job is the same as telling me to get back in the kitchen and fix a sandwich, and sounding like them. uh have you ever heard of or encountered narcissist rage? Marjorie Taylor Greene just illustrated this for us. Can't oppose or reject them. Yeah, yeah, but this isn't like even Mike Cernovich. I wouldn't even see that as opposition or criticism. Really, I guess it's criticizing her opinion to step down, but I think it was more like an issue of I'm supporting you and you can fill out your term, you know? Because I would assume that she's just being pushed out, is resigning because she's being pushed out because there's so much opposition against her from voices on high, like Donald Trump. So, maybe she wants to continue serving and it's just like, you should continue serving. And then he gets chewed out and she makes it a thing about sexism and all this other madness. And this quotation, oh man, like it's so gross and unnecessary. So if y'all know what this is, y'all can let me know. Is it just a typical narcissist crash out? Is she losing her mind? Is she auditioning to, I don't know, be part of the resistance, to be invited on MSNBC as I was a Republican, and people say even Marjorie Taylor Greene is criticizing Trump. Even Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's a Republican, even this Republican is criticizing what they're doing. Is that what this is for? Is that what this is for? I don't know. They put her on The View, so maybe she feels like she has a future in grifting, like, the Bulwark and the Lincoln Project and all those folks who are Republicans or conservatives who've essentially turned to the dark side for clicks, and David French, who always has something to say about the right or whatever now. As a Christian, I'm so concerned about the right. Okay. Okay. What about the left, bro? So uh, I don't know. I think she has always been off. In my opinion, she's always been off. But I think it's not total insanity. I think a lot of it is putting out those feelers. Unfortunately, I don't know. I feel like especially online and maybe in politics and just in general, there's so many people who aren't actually rooted in ideals and values, and um there's so many people. You know, people will say like, "Oh, I turned into a Republican because of what they did on the left," or I became a Republican, a Democrat because I saw what they did on the right. The Republicans did this or whatever, and so many people talk about different things like that, but they won't talk about what they actually believe or the values. You know, um, after my sister ran for chair of the Michigan Republican Party in 2019, and it was a decision that was not granted from on high. We weren't told no from on high, but there was a chosen person, and we ran against the chosen person. We were threatened. There were antics to try to keep us off the ballot, and even antics the day of the convention. Some things we were able to like stop and counteract or whatever, but they're all just kind of shenanigans that were done against Gina and my family. And so the day of the convention, she barely lost, but she did lose. We went to Chick-fil-A, and my dad was stewing. Like, my mom was upset because the chair at the time, with Ronna McDaniel, who's the RNC chair at the time, but she used to be my boss, and she used to be Gina's boss. When she saw my parents, she didn't even speak to them. My mom never forgot that, by the way. um, so my mom was upset about that, and my dad was upset about everything. And then within himself, he just said out loud, he's like, maybe we should join the Democrat Party. And if you knew my dad, you would be floored that such a thing exited his mouth. You'd be floored if you knew him. And I just looked at him and I was like, no, that's stupid. Like, for what? They don't like us, and we don't believe in the same things. Like, you'll get over this. Like, it's okay. And I know he was upset about how we were burned. Um, but I guess politics is politics or whatever. But at the end of the day, we are Republicans because we believe in the ideals of the Republican Party. We are more conservative people, and why would we be Democrat? We are socially conservative or fiscally conservative, you know? So why would we join the Democrat side just because of what they did? So he got over it, and I tell you guys, my dad's like a Trump apologist, basically. So, but he was upset at the time. And that's another thing about like Charlie Kirk and that one text that Candace Owens leaked when he was upset about the donor, you know, um reneging like $2 million because of Tucker Carlson. And he said, I have no choice but to abandon the Jewish cause, which different people at Turning Point said that was him venting. And Josh Hammer said that was him being sarcastic. You can totally read that either way, because he did get on a call shortly after that to debunk like anti-Israel people on college campuses to like prepare himself for that. So for people not to think that, I mean, all these people are like, oh, he's no longer pro-Israel. That's just not um it doesn't make any sense if you look at his life and so many things that he said and done. Um, but he was probably upset to lose all that money. Sure, maybe. And my dad was upset that my sister lost the election. But if he got hit by a bus right after that, and people were like, "Oh, well, he died a Democrat," like I'd be so annoyed people saying that. Like my dad was upset at that time. But he didn't change his whole life. And you know, and if he would have had time in this scenario, he would have obviously gone on to keep voting Republican and be what I call a Trump apologist. So um but anyway, sorry to get off a little off track there. My point is that there are people who will sometimes kind of throw out their values. There's some people who don't actually have values. And I think and some people are just willing to sell them. Maybe they have values, but they're willing to sell them because maybe money just means more to people. I think we have to be open to the idea that there's a lot of people who have been presenting themselves a certain way for a long time, and they're just not those individuals. And I don't know. I started to kind of see this some years back. Lauren Southern did a video talking about some of her things that she went on with her life and revealed some things. And I just started seeing things about other influencers and whatnot. And I wonder how much of a game is run on people. And I don't like to accuse people of being insincere because I certainly hate it when people say it about me. Like, oh, they must pay you to be a Republican. I'm like, well, I've been Republican as long as I've been interested in politics, I'm just so I'm pretty consistent here on this. But I mean, if people don't know me, they don't know me. You know, so I don't love to throw around accusations, but some people maybe we have to just for Tucker Carlson, for an example, a lot of things that he was saying about Bill O'Reilly and thinking that, he was putting on an act. It kind of seems like Tucker, has been putting on an act and is putting on an act, and just gets worse and worse and worse and worse as far as he goes. And Candace Owens, she was on the left, she was suing, as a young woman, like for discrimination stuff, and did the social autopsy stuff. And she, switched and did the red pill black thing, and she kind of blew up. And she was saying all the right things in the past, and now her content, a lot of things that she says are against some of the values that she was espousing when she first came over on the right. And now it sounds very much like left-wing stuff, which I think she's going to full circle back to left-wing stuff eventually. And I think a lot of I don't know, she said she had like the #1 podcast in the world. A lot of people are watching her from overseas and supporting her and uplifting her stuff who are not in this country. These are global apps. But as some people, you have to question, like, do they actually believe what they believe? And so, my recommendation to people is just like, follow the values, follow the principles. And, if people change their mind and go their different way, you don't got to follow them their different way. Just as Paul would say, follow me as I follow Christ. Just follow the values of what people do. A lot of folks, we don't know their motivations. We can't read their hearts. We can't read their minds, but we can observe what they do and know a tree by their fruits, So just a little piece of advice. Let's quickly watch this segment about Fani Willis, because they did drop the case against Donald Trump. So CNN had to talk about the case a little bit. This is just like a 48-second video.
She was then disqualified from the case because of an undisclosed romantic relationship with another prosecutor. And that is how this case now fell into the hands earlier this month of a prosecutor who was assigned the job of trying to find someone to take on this case. He said that he couldn't because there were too many conflicts, and he took it on himself. Now we're seeing the results of that, and that is that he is saying that they are not going to move forward with this case. And he summarized it in part by saying that he made this decision by examining the case file, examining what the jury had been presented, and also considerations of the law. He says that, contesting an election is not unlawful, but and that is part of the reasons for why he decided not to move forward with the charges at this point.
The Donald Trump case, as far as Georgia went, I didn't think that they would. I guess it depends on the jury that they set up in that county or whatever. I didn't think that they would nail him with that particular case. I always said with the different cases that he had, the worst one, in my opinion, was the one in Florida. But that would probably be the most favorable jury toward him. And of course that ended up like getting thrown out and stuff. But the Georgia case, if they had brought that to trial and they wanted it to be televised, I didn't think that they would end up really busting him for doing some illegal things. But there were some actions that he took that wouldn't make him look great. And that would have really impacted the election. And all this stuff coming down at once all together, it was really election interference, and it was don't get me wrong. I think they want to see Trump in jail. Like, I think they ate his guts. I think they never really forgave him for running and winning, so I think they like had it out for him, but I think a lot of it was they obviously didn't want him to win, so all these cases kind of came down at the same time. And if a lot of the stuff, different things were like streamed, and played on TV as they went through the trial and talked to different witnesses and behaviors that they had right after the election, especially like planning to have electors, when different people are saying there's no way you're going to win all this contested stuff. Like, you'd have to win like all the stuff, and it's just kind of not possible. And people were telling him that he needed to focus on preserving his legacy than doing all this other stuff. And he just didn't want to do that, even though he was like really warned by a lot of people. Ultimately, I don't think it would have been good for him as far as the election goes, but it all fell to pieces because she just, was lustful. It all fell to pieces. And I wonder how Trump and them just felt like having, because they, knowing that story was going to break about her inappropriate relationship and how that was going to destroy the case, and just all the stuff going on in the news, and just sitting like cool as a cucumber, like, just wait till we drop the bomb, And she criticized someone that she ran against for, I think, sexual misconduct. So it's really embarrassing that she allowed this to happen, that she blew the greatest opportunity of her, the greatest legal opportunity of her life. And I remember hearing a lot of professional Black women just being so disappointed, and really ragging on how stupid she was. But anyway, gosh, we're over an hour. I think the last thing I wanted to mention was this Tucker clip, and I don't want to dwell on it for a long time, but we shall see. We shall see. Okay, so I know we talked like all day yesterday about Tucker Carlson, but I saw this clip today, and this wasn't this caption says he's on Sean Ryan show. I don't think this was on Sean Ryan show. I don't know where this clip is from. But he talks about Zionism.
Muslims, or they the Jews, or they, whatever people have always. No. They're not the Muslims. They're not the Jews. They're not the blacks. They're not whatever group you're blaming. They're any individual who doesn't acknowledge the human soul. Period.
Oh, sorry. It looks like we're kind of The internet's a little wonky, but let me keep trying to play it.
Looks like this. It's tribalism. It's identity politics. It's DEI. It's whatever. It's Zionism. It's any belief system that begins with the understanding that one group is morally superior to other groups. We think in terms of groups as Christians or Western. And the reason it's important to say this out loud.
Hold on a second. So he grouped in DEI with Zionism, identity politics, blah, 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 blah. So what is Zionism? Because I've heard a lot of people seethe that term with such hatred and accusations. A Zionist is someone who believes that Israel has a right to exist, that they have a right to have that country in that land, and that is all that it is. And whether you believe that because you've read the Bible and God promised Abraham an everlasting covenant with them, and if whether that's your theology or your opinion on it, whether it's, hey, this land was agreed upon that they could have it, and then the fact that they fought for the land and defended the land, you know, in any way that you could legitimately like have a place, have a nation, I think they've checked all the boxes. So they're there and they have the state of Israel. Being a Zionist believes that they have a right to exist. And someone, I would love if someone just had a serious conversation with Tucker. It's like, okay, you oppose Zionism. Why do you not believe that Israel has a right to exist? And and people say, well, it's an ethno state. If it is a Jewish state, but as long as you are an Israeli, you do have full rights. As soon as I got to the airport, there was a woman who was an African woman who had immigrated there, and she loved it. She said she loved living there, and she asked me if I needed my hair braided and how long. I was like, oh, I'm not gonna be here for long. It's just like, oh, well, do you know anybody who needs their hair braided? Because I know a lot of people have hard times like finding people who can do it. And I was like, oh, no, I don't know anybody here. It's my first time here. So, you know, it's like as soon as I got to the airport and went into the bathroom, there was someone who was like, can I braid your hair? But, which is funny because I did want my hair braid. I thought about having my hair braided before I went there because I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to deal with my hair there. And I was so concerned about plugging up my flat iron and with the adapters and stuff, and they never got as hot as they're supposed to get, but my adapters did work, but just, you know, I did have a converter, but I never ended up using it. I was too afraid to plug in my laptop. I used it for a little bit, but once the battery died, I didn't use it for the rest of the trip because I was concerned about what might happen. So I did, because some on the trip somebody's straightener like kind of blew up. So I had heard stories, so I was just concerned. But no, but anyway, people immigrate there. They love it. There's Arabs there, like people who say it's an apartheid state. I'm like, the call to prayer goes out and it just stops everything. Like we were in a traffic jam because of the call to prayer. Like people had their time of the day, and it just stops everything if you're like near that area. And it's like, how can you believe that these people aren't having equal rights and it's some kind of apartheid state when they just let everything just stop for Muslims to be able to pray and stuff? It's just ridiculous. Some of the things that people believe about Israel, but if they're not allowed to have one, what about all these other Arab or Muslim countries? Or what about Japan? Like, you know, can none of these nations can legitimately exist? Like what, you know? But Tucker, as we saw it through videos the other day, he's trying to implant this idea that there is just like this Jewish moral superiority, and he's railed against the idea of a chosen people and things like that. So and because I guess they have that attitude, then they can go ahead and kill kids and don't care, and he'll cast those kind of accusations at Israel. But Zionism is just a concept that they have a right to exist in that land. And if you are against that, I guess that's on you to explain why you oppose that specific thing. Zionism is not the same as DEI. You guys really think that having like a national identity is the same as DEI? And diversity and inclusion aren't, I guess depending on how you use it or how you're focused on it, aren't really ethical issues. Like, I don't think so, but depending, there's nuance in these conversations. The real issue is the equity thing. That's what really ties it into a really immoral place, where it's like, okay, well, we want diversity and equity and all this stuff to exist, but we want it this particular way, and we're going to disadvantage like these white people in order to have black people to get this thing, and we're not going to do equal opportunity. We're going to ghetto rig the system, so we think you're the oppressor, so now we're going to oppress you in order to lift up this group. That's where I think you get into really immoral territory with a lot of the stuff. But it's ridiculous to say this is the same as Zionism.
Is because there are so many interests vying for the mantle of defender of Western civilization. What does it mean to defend the West? I'm a Western, Netanyahu. I'm a defender of Western civilization. No, you're its enemy. Of course, you're literally its main enemy. Why? Because I don't like you. It has nothing to do with that. The reason that Netanyahu is an enemy of Western civilization is because he believes and has said out loud that we're fighting these people because of how they were born, because of their inherent evil. We don't believe in that. We believe every person is inherently flawed, but salvageable because God made every person. Why are the Nazis bad? The Nazis are bad because for that exact same reason. And so if you want to defend...
Just to remember, Tucker Carlson criticized a Christian who was implicated in a plot to kill Adolf Hitler, and implied that he wasn't Christian and threw out his Christianity to participate in that. Now, I don't know, people widely believe that he was a part of the plot. I couldn't find any definitive evidence. He was convicted in a kangaroo court. We don't need evidence is what we believe or whatever. But and it's funny because right after that clip came out with Tucker, I went to the Holocaust Museum in Israel, and he was highlighted as a figure that was important as a Christian who stood up, when people were using religion to do some really evil things. So, I don't know how much, I guess he's obviously a moral and normal person would be against Nazis, but it was just an insane thing that someone in his eyes was less of a Christian because they were willing to take out Adolf Hitler. But and what he's saying about Bibi isn't true. What he's saying isn't true about Bibi. And I'll play a clip of Bibi, what that people are pointing out, no, Bibi talks about Hamas being the issue, Hamas being the government, that's a problem.
In the West, you defend a single proposition, and everything emanates from that proposition. The individual has rights, which were given to him by God. Period. You don't have to be a Christian to defend that principle. There are a ton of Muslims and Jews and everybody else who believe that. So it's not about hate this group, hate that group. All of that shit is anti-Western.
I don't think that Tucker hates any of these groups. I think if I had to speculate, because who knows, I just think he says a lot of the stuff for nefarious reasons, not because he feels any hatred in their heart. When people are like, oh, is he anti-Semitic, or is Candace anti-Semitic? Are these people? I think a lot of them do it for ulterior reasons, not just maybe because it's necessary to hate these different groups, but no. What did Andrew Klavan say? Andrew Klavan had said something about it. He said what Tucker is doing here, I'll play the BB clip in a second, and has been doing since he started down this particular path of anti-Semitic deception, is conflating courtroom justice with war. Yes, if you set off a bomb, only you can be punished. But if Japan bombs America, we don't hunt down the pilots. We go to war with the nation of Japan. That's what Israel did when they were attacked by Iran through Gaza and Hamas. They went to war. It wasn't genocide any more than the US killing Japanese was genocide, which Tucker may I don't know, use that language since he thinks that the bombs were demonic and used to kill Christians, I guess. We didn't kill them because they were Japanese. We killed that. He thinks we killed them because they're Christians. We killed them because we were at war with the nation of Japan. So with Israel, it's a rhetorical nonsense meant to lead to hate, to the hateful by the, to lead the hateful by the nose. Shame on him. So I don't think he says this stuff to be hateful. I think he is leading people to a certain conclusion or trying to. And I don't think Tucker is very Christian myself, but and you can say, how can you say that? I mean, well, you can judge a tree by its fruits, but the way that he lies on people to the degree that he does, and the way that he misrepresents Christianity, the Bible, but the way that he also talks about the supernatural is in a way that seems more, not as someone who actually reverences this stuff, but is trying to appeal to a group that to me he doesn't respect. It's kind of how his conversations come off, but I talked about that yesterday. I'm sure I'll talk about it more again. So here's a little bit of what BB actually like says about this stuff.
I want to make a few points absolutely clear. Israel has no intention of permanently occupying Gaza or displacing its civilian population. Israel is fighting Hamas terrorists, not the Palestinian population. And we are doing so in full compliance with international law. The IDF is doing its utmost to minimize civilian casualties, while Hamas is doing its utmost to maximize them by using Palestinian civilians as human shields. The IDF urges Palestinian civilians to leave war zones by disseminating leaflets, making phone calls, providing safe passage corridors, while Hamas prevents Palestinians from leaving at gunpoint and often with gunfire. Our goal is to rid Gaza of Hamas terrorists and free our hostages. Once this is achieved, Gaza can be demilitarized and de-radicalized, thereby creating a possibility for a better future for Israel and Palestinians alike.
So, does that sound like we want to kill you just because you're inherently evil and not one of us? No, it doesn't. But Tucker also says that they bomb churches on purpose and don't care about killing kids, and that they bombed churches and didn't apologize, which is just objectively not true. So a lot of lies on his side. This is a funny comment. I went on a mission to France and blew my electric rollers the first night. A couple days later, I combed my hair with toilet paper. My amazing chaperones bought me sponge rollers. Before I left, because I didn't have I don't think I had any hair rollers or whatever, but I called my sister who took me to the airport. I'm like, can you make sure that you just bring some hair rollers because I don't know what I'm gonna do exactly with my hair. And so she did bring me some, and I did use them at least with my bangs a bit, but I sweat on my face. Like that's the first place that I sweat. And when I arrived at the JFK airport, and my baggage claim was like so far away from my terminal. It was just forever away. And maybe because I was supposed to take like one of those trains. I don't know. Maybe I don't remember seeing something about the trains for that, but it was just forever away. So I was rushing to get to like the baggage claim and stuff. And then I got to the baggage claim, and I left Michigan, and I had on a hoodie. And it was like it had started to snow when I left Michigan. So I had on a hoodie, and I had on a jacket, and I had my backpack, and I had my carry-on bag, And so I'm going this long distance in the airport to get to the baggage claim, which was forever away. And then I got my stuff, my suitcase. So I'm rolling that on top of other stuff that I have. And it's not snowing in New York, so it's a little, warmer than it was in Michigan. And everyone said that they were going to meet at this hotel if you like arrive early. So I decided to go to this hotel. So I had to go outside on the airport and go to this hotel that was like still kind of like on the property, but it was a little like down the block or whatever. And so by the time I got in that hotel and I took off my jacket and I took off my hoodie, like my face was sweating, and so my head was like, it sweated out quite a bit. And and then I was like sweating on my back and like, so I had really sweated a lot. And so my hair was just a little poofy. It wasn't like super straight. And so it wasn't like, I don't know, tip top kind of condition. And I did like straighten it here from here to there. But the most it would get to was like 200, I think 210. And if you're in the US, it's supposed to go to like 410. And I know not everybody like ups it all the way, but I've got black hair, guys. So I need it like at full power. So some days we were doing so much and going so fast, I didn't bother like put on makeup or whatever, and I just mostly wore my hair in a bun the whole time. I didn't wear it down at all, because I just would have sweated out and been like a ridiculous mess. And the last day I just had on a ball cap, which was like backwards and stuff. And it was a cute hat though. So so it was I was like, man, what am I doing my hair? But it was fine. Because I knew that I was gonna, if I could get the opportunity to go swimming, I would have went swimming. And I knew that I was gonna go be baptized in the Jordan River. Which we did second to the last day. I guess it was the day before we left. We went and did the baptism in the Jordan River, and we did that. That was like one of the first things we did that day. And so my hair was like poofy from being wet, but it was still like in the ponytail, so it was just like, there's shrinkage when you go in the water. But it was poofy and stuff. So that night I did wash it and blow dry it, and I didn't bother doing the straightening routine here. When I got to JFK airport, no, not the JFK airport. When I got to Detroit, no, I guess it was JFK. It had to be JFK because we got in at 5 in the morning, and my flight to go to Detroit wasn't going to be till like 12. So I had time. So I whipped out that flat iron, went in the bathroom because they had electric sockets in the bathroom. So clearly it's for situations like that, right? Because why else would they be there in the bathroom? The sockets. They're not USB ports, they're full on socket. So I plugged that in and started straightening my hair. So and it got up to that 410 like I needed it to. But yeah, I was really concerned about the adapters and stuff. So I didn't plug in my laptop until I got back to that airport. Anyway, that's all I got for you guys. Please go to blacktitties.com, check out different content, website, articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do, please consider leaving a donation on the website because it costs a stream, run by side, all that good, so you guys get support. I very much appreciate it and appreciate you guys. You guys could also check out different t-shirts and mugs and so on at the website. You guys could also check out many of my books that I've written. I have historical fiction, fantasy books that are really cool. I was working on one of my books in that series today. I got Super Kid 2, and I got of course Bigger, and I mentioned my, of course, guys, Blake gets abortion book today. And here's a bigger. You guys can check out and get that. I don't have a lot in stock right now. So if you want a hardcover, you guys can go get it at ninjadustpublishing.com. There's a link in the description if you're watching on Facebook and YouTube. I have some paperbacks in stock, but my hardcovers I only have a few, so I recommend that you guys go ahead and get that while you can. I'll have to restock, but it takes a minute to restock. So get it now, especially if you want to get some for Christmas. Go ahead and do that. God bless you guys. Have a happy Thanksgiving. Try not to make it all about politics. Enjoy the time with your family. Eat sweet potato pie instead of pumpkin. It's so much better. It's so much better. God bless you guys. And I will be posting my Israel content starting tomorrow. So if you got some time, go ahead and watch that, and then I'll keep rolling out those videos because I'll have like I think 7 of them all together. God bless you guys, and I'll see you next time.